What's up, YouTube? I got the gang with me, and we just coming to you chilling, talking about doing collabs when you go to different cities. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that I link up with these guys once a quarter. We find cities to go to, and when we travel to those cities, we like to do collab photo shoots. We like to do video. We basically just like to create content. That really is kind of what our focus is when we come to these cities. And so when we're doing this, we don't really have a true use for the photos that we take or necessarily the videos. So for us, collabs make the most sense because we really just like to shoot. We just want to shoot. It's not that we need the photos. We don't necessarily do a whole lot with them. So collabs make sense. But trying to collab with models, especially models in a different city than where you live, definitely can be a little difficult. So we really just want to come together and just let you know our experiences with, how we reach out to models, the responses that we get, how we move forward, all of those things, just to help you. If you're in a situation where you're in a different city and you want to collab with models, you understand what goes into it, because it's not as simple and as easy as you may think. And especially if you have a smaller following like I do. I don't have a large following on Instagram. I've only got a moderate following on YouTube. So when you don't have like this big following, it's very challenging to get people to even acknowledge you, let alone respond and all of those things. So we kind of just want to give you some insight into that and kind of give you some tips and suggestions on how you can have the most success if you're in a situation where you want to collab. So I got my homie TMIDD right here, T to the M to the IDD. You guys know who he is. Got SJ Square over there. You guys know who he is. If you follow the channel, I will have their stuff linked. Definitely go follow them if you are not following them already. So with that being said, let's first talk about how we reach out to models. What is your approach? So we'll start on this end over here with SJ. How do you reach out to the models that you want to collab with?
My approach is always simple. Hashtag whatever city we are going to go to. And then from there, I'll just start scrolling. If I see somebody that I like, I normally will usually just go on their page, and I will usually just go and probably like around 10 of their photos. If they're professional photos, if they have any professional photos on there, I'll go on there just kind of like about 10 of them. And then I will hit them in the DMs. And then I'll also leave a comment. So it's like a whole little process of how I just kind of do that thing. And the reason why I do I select about like 10 of their photos just to get the notifications on their end of it, right? So it's just like, it's all about the numbers games. And so you just got to get their attention as much as possible. That's the reason why I like doing the liking the 10 photos professional. And I always have to be like, if they're professional, like if other photographers, always those type. But if not, then I just like something that's just kind of modest, things that kind of fits with what I do as far as my photography, right? So it's like, I'm going to go like those things. It's kind of get my idea, like I'm still not being tripped like of those things.
So when you say you comment, what do you say? Like, what's your comment? Because you DM them. So you like the photos, you DM them, and then you comment. What's your
the first
comments?
thing, I'll always, the DMs, I just got a set thing that I've been using for years. I set it up. I just tell them who I am. My name is Stan. I go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Stan, blah, blah. I'm a content creator. Would you be up for a collab? So it's just something, it's just a copy paste thing that I got saved on my phone. But as far as DM, the same thing. It's like, hey, would you like to collab with me? So it's just, I don't really do anything special. It's just, I just get to the point. So it's just there everywhere you go. Because sometimes, when you hit the DM, sometimes it goes to request for photos. So, but that's another reason why I like 10 of their photos, so that I can get that notification going like, oh, who's this liking all my photos? So then when they finally go, they be like, oh, it may help generate. Because then from there, if they see if they like my photos, they check my page. I'm like, oh, he's a photographer. I instantly get that follow, which then instantly takes their DM, that DM, and puts it inside their what's it called. So that's the reason why I do my process the way I do my process.
Got you. What about you, TMIDD?
Man. Yeah. I like about 3 pictures, and then I put my, I don't go to the DM. I go straight to the comments, and I tell them who I am. And I also put emphasis on where I'm from and when I'm gonna be there, so that they kind of have an idea of what I'm trying to do just from the comment. Because a lot of times you'll see people comment under their photos also, but they'll just say, let's shoot. So I try to be more descriptive and also let them know the time frame, because some of it is more urgent than others. So they got it like right then and there. And that's pretty much how I go about that process.
Yeah, so I know that that's how TMIDD does it, and he's told me that I should try it that way. I can't bring myself to do it. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a fear thing, but I don't know, for some reason, I'm just like, nah, man, let me go ahead and go in the DM. So I'm more on the SJ approach. I go into the DM. I usually like some photos. I tend to forget. So here in Chicago, all the models that I reached out to, I don't think I liked any of their photos because I just wasn't even thinking about that. I just only DM. And I kind of have the same language as SJ, you know. Well, actually, it's kind of probably more like TMIDD. I'm like, hey, you know, my name's Anthony. I'm a photographer in Vegas. I'm going to be in Chicago these dates. You know, I would love to work with you. I actually don't like using the word love because maybe I overthink it, but I be thinking that like that's weird because I'm like, I would love to shoot with you. You don't know me. How would you love to shoot with me? So I'll probably be overthinking that. So I think I would really like to shoot with you now. And then, you know, if you know, for a collab, you know, if you're interested, and then that's kind of where I leave it. So sometimes if I don't get a response, I'll go to the comment and I either paste the exact message that I sent in the comment, or I'll kind of truncate it a little bit, say, hey, I'm Anthony, I'm a photographer here, I'll be in your city, I sent you a DM, something of that nature, just to kind of bring attention to it. So we kind of all have somewhat similar approaches, but different approaches. So that's the perfect segue into, now that we've done that, what is our success rate? How often do we get responses back? You know, how many do you send and how many do you get back? So we'll start with TMIDD this time. In general, and you know, every city is going to be different, but in general, what would you say is your typical success rate? How many comments, how many models do you reach out to, you know, at a starting level? How many responses do you get back?
I'll probably say, in terms of numbers, it's probably hard because normally I see how, like when I'm going to be there, I might start a week out, and then every day I might just sit down and do 10. Yeah. I might do 10 a day, 10 a day, 10 a day. From that 10 a day, let's say I reach out to, let's say 50 models. I'll say I get contact maybe 20 back. I'll say about 20.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. What about you, SJ?
All right, well, same thing. Like, I will probably start off 2 weeks out, but I would definitely like to start a week out because, you know, in social media, they'll forget. If you start too early, they'll quickly forget about you. So therefore, you have to pick a good time range where they won't forget about you, but you also got to give them time to set up stuff because we're going to be here, so they may have other things going on as well. But I would probably say, man, I'll probably send out 30 max. Like, I really don't send out that much. Like, I just don't. And far as out of those 30s, we could say probably, man, 20%, maybe 15 to 20% of that. And, you know, it just happens, right? And it's really interesting just to kind of put on the fact of, you know, most people, girls, they want to look at your followings, right? We can all say they definitely check your followings. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, they check your followings. And out of all of us, TMIDD on YouTube got the bigger channel. So it's like once they do kind of that kind of helps him in that area, but it really still don't help guys. Like I got the biggest follow on IG, and I still don't get that much. So it's like it's really an art science of like it's a numbers game, as you said. So it's like I will say like I do reach out to 30, but honestly I should reach out to more just because it's really a numbers game.
Yeah, so I'm a nerd, so I got numbers, you know, because I'll be putting my stuff in spreadsheets. So I'm gonna speak to the Chicago trip. So on this trip, I reached out to 32 models. 32.
Oh, 32. He put it in the spreadsheet. It's in the spreadsheet. Yeah, he ain't lying about that spreadsheet.
Okay. And all DM. I think there were like 5 that I was really trying to work with that I went to the comment because I didn't get a response back. But of those 32, I had 4 people respond. 2 of those people were not available. I don't remember what the one was, and then there was one that was down to collab. So out of those 32, I had 4 hit me back. So speaking to what SJ was saying, I like, first, like, if y'all follow me, y'all know, like, on my Instagram, I'm not anywhere near as active as I should be, number 1. So that's like problem number 1. And then number 2, I actually don't post a ton of photos. So for the longest time, like, I was just posting reels and that sort of thing, which I just recently took all of those reels off of my main profile. So that way they could actually see photos, because I knew I was going to be doing this for the Chicago trip. So because I don't really post a lot of photos, I have a smaller following. You know, as SJ alluded to, like, if they go and check my profile, there's just not going to see a lot there. Like, I don't have a big following. I've got photos, but there's not a ton of them. And depending upon like what their style is, if my style doesn't really match the aesthetic of what they go for, you know, then they're not going to want to work with me, because at least if my style was different, but I had a huge following, clout, right? You know, it's like, oh, he's got, you know, 50,000 followers. If he posts me and tag me, I could get some followers. So I can't even offer that to him. So I think that works against me, which at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is a numbers game. You really just, the more you send, the more hits you'll get back. It's like sales, right? Like, you're going to get a ton of no's and only a handful of yeses. It's just the way the game goes. So you just have to send out a lot. Now, I'll be honest, it gets frustrating sometimes, because it's just like, you know, as a photographer, like, what you're capable of doing. Like, you know, you can produce great work, and it's like, you'll find a model and you already know like how you can like do a shoot that's going to be amazing for that model. So you're just like, yo, this would be a great opportunity. Like, let's make this work and create this heat. So it gets a little frustrating sometimes when they don't respond, especially the ones that'll have in their profile, you know, DM the book, DM for collab. I mean, there's some that even DM for collabs, and you reach out to them and you still don't get any hit back. You know, it's just like,
that's the most frustrating.
It doesn't make any sense.
No,
So
the most frustrating.
That's the most frustrating.
The most frustrating one for me is when they do contact you back under the comment, and then they say, DM me.
Yeah, that'd be frustrating.
I'd be like, if I
can see
already
that.
sent you the comment, why can't you just DM me? Like, why you gotta tell me to DM you? So now I gotta DM you just for you to write, oh, hey.
Right. So stop and think about that for, like, what really is the point of that, right? Like, you're going through the hassle of saying DM, so that's effort right there. That easily could have been done in a DM. Hey, I saw your comment. What's up?
What's going on?
It's the same thing, right? So these are the kind of things that you deal with. So that puts into perspective what you can expect when you're reaching out. Now, if you have a bigger following, I think you still will experience this to a degree, especially when you're coming from the collab perspective. But probably the bigger the following you have, the better percentage success rate you're gonna have. Now, I would say even for Mid, even if he has a smaller following like on Instagram, Mid's very strategic and very active in how he markets himself. He does a very good job of marketing everything that he does. He puts himself out on a ton of different platforms. So a lot of these models that he may reach out to that he doesn't even know, they may have seen his image on Pinterest. There could have been a photographer that has sent inspiration photos to a model that was his work, because he's got his stuff all out there. He does a great job at marketing himself, whereas I'm the complete opposite. I do an absolutely terrible job of marketing myself. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, the more you put yourself out there, the more you will be in front of people, even that you don't know. And you may reach out to somebody and they're like, oh, I just saw this guy's photo last week. They're going to be more likely to reach back to you. So, you know, you got to keep that in mind as well. So from the perspective of, okay, you reached out, you get your hit back. Now it's time to like start working through the details. So that's an easy process, right? Like, it always goes smooth and goes according to plan, right? Every person that responds back, the shoot happens and you get the content, right? If only, okay? If only. So I'll start on this one. Doesn't work that way. I'm gonna tell you right now, even when you get that person to hit you back and they're like, yeah, I'm down to shoot, half of them, it never happens. You know, they'll say I'm down to shoot, then you'll respond back to start trying to work through the details. And either they don't respond back at all, or it takes them a day to respond, 2 days to respond. Now imagine you're trying to orchestrate a photo shoot with somebody in another city, and it's taking them a day to respond. Every time you send a simple question, you don't get a response back for a day or 2 days. And maybe you get somewhere, you get halfway, and then all of a sudden it falls apart. It just doesn't go well. So like, what has been your guys' experience with, once you get those hits back, how do you try to get it to the point from getting that response to getting the photo shoot scheduled?
Yeah, so one thing that I try to do is try to make them have like some type of integrity about what they're doing and some accountability. So one thing I try to do is keep that conversation going and let them know that I have a plan. Even though sometimes that doesn't even work. But the communication piece, I would say, is the most important. So if they feel like you got something to offer, they may be more likely to keep the communication going. Although I've seen all sides of the spectrum. So, and to encourage it, one thing that I have done is, and this probably kind of spills into some tips that you probably can give, but this is probably like my perspective, is like an incentive, like buy an outfit or something of that nature, where it's a pressure. Like sometime I'll be like, okay, yeah, I could shoot that day, but I'm gonna have to push my flight back. So I'll push my flight back if we could shoot, knowing I don't have to push my flight back. But you kind of lock them in, because then they feel like, oh man, okay, he did that for me. So that's like some things that I would do. Yeah.
Same thing with me, man. You just got to make them feel incentivized of trying to shoot, right? It's nothing really far more you can mostly do is besides communication, keep communication, and hopefully that communication is good enough so the girls can feel the vibe. You know what I'm saying? So they can have that vibe of a good feeling, so they can be like, oh, all right, he's good enough. I'm really going to come through with this. And so it's nothing really you can pretty much do. It's just besides be communicated with them, as well as try to offer some type of incentive. Me personally, I don't offer any type of incentive. So it's just like, come out here and
stingy over there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of stingy with it, man, because it's like, you're getting to work for free. So that enough to me is way more than enough, because I do give a lot more content than y'all.
Nah, he the one that only give.
You know what I'm saying? I give out a lot more content, you know what I'm saying, than what y'all give. He's the 3 pictures.
It sticks to a 3-picture rule.
I give you 12, you know what I'm saying?
Images, 3 edited 12,
images. I give you a whole entire video just for reels. Like I literally make a whole entire video. It depends on how long, but like maybe a minute to maybe 2 minutes. Just me just chopping up, slow down, just making little motions. I just send it without no sound, but I slow it up and do it. Now I send it to them. Like, here you go, make it real. So like I do give them like a lot of, so far as like me saying that you don't get some extra, I don't really like getting enough from you already. You know what I'm saying? So
but you tell them that up front though?
Yeah, I tell them like, when you getting videos, you getting reels, like this is like you're getting a lot of work from me. Like, so I don't, like if that's not, and it really don't correlate with them, right? They don't really understand. Let's just be honest with you. They don't understand how much work is really behind this. They just think it's iPhone type stuff. I'm gonna get it, chop it up, and like when you start to get into professionals, like that stuff's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of work just to do those type of things. So they don't understand it. But I just try to incentivize, like, yo, you're getting all this stuff with the shoot. You know what I'm saying? So I don't feel like I don't need to really.
I'm gonna use that as a segue to say something. And you guys know that I don't shy away from saying stuff, but I want to be real here. The reality is a lot of models aren't really models. Okay, that's just the reality. They're just people who like to stand in front of a camera and have their picture taken and get pictures. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because in my experience, there's a big difference between working with someone that is an actual model and they respect the profession and they actually, put work into what it is they're doing versus people that just want pictures. The ones that just want pictures, they'll commit to the shoot because it sounds good that day. And then as the time approaches, or the day of the shoot or the day before, there's something more exciting that they want to do. There's something that means more to them than just taking those pictures. So then guess what? They cancel on the shoot because that shoot didn't really mean anything to them. The only thing they were getting were pictures, but they could take it or leave it. Whereas when you're working with a model, they respect the profession the same way we as photographers, we respect the profession, and we put all of the time and effort even into these collab shoots. Like, we're thinking about things, looking for locations, thinking of, you know, outfits and, you know, all of those things. So we put a lot of work into it. An actual model will do the same thing, and they're more likely to respect your time as a photographer. So that's where, when he's talking about incentivizing, you know, it helps, because essentially, you know, regardless of how this sounds, it's kind of a mind game sometimes, right? So if someone feels like you've done something for them, they will feel worse if they cancel on you. So, you know, if you're providing outfits, you buy, you know, you let them pick out some outfits and you send them to them so they have the outfits in their possession, they're going to feel worse by canceling on you than if they had nothing. So at the end of the day, we have to do what we can to try to have the best success, because we're coming into the city. We want to be able to create content. So, you know, if we have to kind of, I'll say, play the game, then we play the game. You know, that's just the way that it goes, and you have to do it without guilt. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, if you got to provide something to somebody to get them to commit, you know, then that's what we do. So with that being said, to wrap up this video. Yeah.
Now, I know, like, we're talking about this as, you know, what's called, you can take it as individual tips, but I kind of feel like we all could get out some individual tips, like we just was a minute ago, but really kind of focus on, if you're going to do this as a group thing, always, if you do reach out to them, tell them that it's a group that you're going to be with. I just always want to put that out, because as far as us three, I don't see anybody else on YouTube besides us three be doing these creative things, or what the case may be. And if you're not on YouTube, you're doing it privately, and you're just watching this and you're doing the same thing and you're not putting it on YouTube, guys. Also, make sure in the DMs that you tell them your intentions. If you're out here with a group, tell them that it's going to be other people with me, and we're going to do the whole thing. And that may scare them off a little bit, but I will say this: every single model does come to us and they see us and they see all the equipment, always say, like, man, this is the real deal. Like, this is like, y'all serious about y'all work. You know what I'm saying? But I also just want to throw out there, if you are doing it in a group setting, it may be a little turn up, because I know, again, when I know we do the group things, I always put, like, it's going to be 3 of us. So that could also be a big reason why they want to talk, because you never know, they're females, guys. And you talk about 3 guys and they just don't know, man. So I would say, always have your Instagram on point, guys, because that's just the main thing. I always want to check the Instagram. Make sure you have Instagram on point as well. If you're doing it in a group, make sure you want to tell them up front that there's going to be other people, so they know up front. You don't have to want them to be surprised when they get there. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to add on to that.
So I'm gonna add to that real quick. The reason why that's important is because there are models that will not feel comfortable being in a situation where there's 3 guys, even if you're outdoors. Like, you may think like, oh, well, you know, we're going to be outside in a public setting. What's the problem? There are going to be models and people that you want to work with that will not feel comfortable with that. I definitely know there's been a few models that Mid has worked with that once he mentioned that, they didn't feel comfortable with it. And, you know, in that instance, me and SJ, we hang back and we let Mid do the shoot, because at the end of the day, you don't want them to be uncomfortable. If we don't tell them that, and then we show up and it's all of us and they're not comfortable, guess what? He's not going to get good photos. The shoot might not even happen. You know, they may be like, this is too much for me. Like, I'm not comfortable. So it is important to let them know, because you may think it's nothing, but for some people, and if you've seen like our videos, reels, whatever, you know, we have a lot of stuff out there. We got cameras everywhere all set up. We got the lights, you know, there's all these things going on. That's a lot for somebody, especially that's not an actual model. For models, they probably don't care because they're used to it. But if they're not an actual model, they're not used to having, you know, you got the person taking the pictures, you got a video guy, we got cameras set up on tripods everywhere. I'm holding lights, putting them in. I mean, there's just a lot going on that can be overwhelming for people. So you just don't want to surprise them and just have all that and not have them know. So that's why that's important to let them know that sort of thing. So great tips. What kind of tips could you add to that?
What kind of tip could I add to that? I think you all summed it up pretty well. The only thing that I probably could add to the group setting is, you know, I guess the catalyst for the model would be your work kind of speaking for you. So kind of goes to, you know, having your page right, and then putting in the work after that to kind of like seal the deal. Now, you know, you still get some flakes here and there, and if I had $1 for every time a family emergency happened, then we'll be rich.
Right. He would be covering the cost of all of our trips.
Yeah, but yeah, the group setting definitely, because especially depending on what you may be shooting, that's a big deal. You know, I tend to shoot PG. He tends to shoot boudoir. You know, he likes new bodyscapes. So, you know, they might not want me in that session. So, you know, I'll just take, you know, my content somewhere else. But yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah. So to jump onto his tip about the work, you got to be realistic with yourself, right? So if you go to a model's page and the work that they have on their page is better than the work that you have on your own page, they're not likely to collab with you. That's just the reality. Because when you think about it, you can't offer them anything. You know, if they're getting better work than what you can give them, why would they want to shoot with you for free? That's just the reality. So you got to leave your ego and pride at the door and just say, hey, if their work is better, you're probably going to have to pay. If you want to work with them, you most certainly can, but you're going to have to hire them. You're going to have to pay for it. So your work has to be good enough to where you're bringing something to the table for them. And if, you know, they kind of have a big portfolio already, you still can collab with people, but you got to be strategic in what you can offer. So, you know, if you can get that communication open, you can say, is there a shoot that you've been wanting to do that you haven't been able to do? Because if there's something that they want to do, a concept, a location, outfit, something along those lines, there's benefit for them to work with you as a collab, because they get those pictures to be able to put in their portfolio. So there's value there, and then you get to work with them for free. So you really have to just be real with yourself. Look for models that are in line with where you are in your photography journey. And you'll have better success if you do that. Like Mid said, you definitely still gonna have the flakes. You definitely still gonna have people not responding back, but you will have a better chance of success if you keep your expectations in line and you're reaching out to people that are on the same level or below where you are, essentially. So hopefully this video has been helpful. We really just wanted to give some insight. We talk about this every time when we're on trips, and we talk about it in our group chat all the time. So I really just wanted to do this video just to kind of peel back the layers so you can understand what all goes into it. Because again, I think maybe sometimes people think that, you know, if you reach out to people, they're just going to be down to shoot and it's just easy to do. And it really isn't. It really isn't. We've been doing this for like 2 years, 3 years, something like that now. And we deal with the same stuff every single time. And when we were in Houston, when we went to Houston, Houston was like an anomaly. Houston treated us well. Like, we had so many shoots because, as we all have said, like, it's a numbers game. So we reach out to a ton of models expecting a small percentage to respond back. And in Houston, we all had a large percentage of people respond back. So we had like shoots back to back to back to back. Individually, we had to do stuff because we had overlap. I mean, it was just ridiculous. So, you know, the city that you're in plays a factor too. You may be in a city where people are more likely. Okay, so the camera hit the 30-minute mark. So I don't even know where that stopped, but I was wrapping this video up anyway. Basically what I was saying was I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to drop those down in the comments below. As I mentioned, I will link SJ and TMIDD, their channels, in the description. Please go follow them. They all have great content, and we all kind of bring something different to the table. So between the three of us, it really is kind of a variety of content. So I think you really can find something entertaining or useful on all of our channels. So definitely go follow them. I appreciate you tuning in. And until the next video, take care. I haven't had that in a video in a while.
Like Anita Ward said, make sure you do a favor and ring that bell.
Peace.